I'm sorry to tell you this, but our apartment building is haunted, okay? It doesn't look like much from the outside. It's just a nondescript apartment building in New York City, but inside it's pure luxury. 16 stories of it. When my girlfriend and I moved in, we had no idea that we were going to be sharing the space with spirits. But after about a week, things started happening. First, there were the disembodied voices. I'd hear whispers in the middle of the night or random words here and there throughout the day. Then objects started moving on their own. Books would fall off shelves. Doors would slam shut by themselves. Sometimes when I would come home, I'd find the TV turned on to static. And sometimes if I sat down on the couch, it would jolt me how it felt like someone had sat down next to me. It was weird. I didn't know what to make of it. So I did what anyone in their right mind would do. I went online. I typed in the address of our apartment into Google Street View, and then clicked on the little person icon to see what it looked like from street level, except it didn't show the normal Google Street View image. Instead, it showed an image from what looked like the 1920s. There was a horse-drawn carriage parked out front, and a man in a top hat walking up the stairs. But even though it was clearly an old picture, the building in the background looked identical to how it looks today. Well, that was weird. I thought maybe there was some glitch in the system, so I tried again, but it still came up the same. I went back to the present-day view, which was incredibly creepy, and I noticed something else. The windows of our apartment were boarded up. That wasn't normal. We could clearly see out of our window, and there was nothing obstructing the glass. So why did the Google Street View image show boarded up windows? Had they taken the picture before our apartment had been renovated? I scrolled through other images, but none of them showed the windows from our perspective. They either panned away before they got to our window, or they used an image from the 1920s. My girlfriend thought it was funny, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It was bad enough hearing stuff in the middle of the night and finding things overturned in the morning. But now I couldn't get the image of those boarded up windows out of my head. Was this apartment cursed? Were the ghosts keeping us from leaving by manipulating the Google Street View camera somehow? Or was there another explanation for the boarded up windows? There was only one way to find out. I grabbed my keys and headed out the door. I decided to go explore the building's basement. Surely there was an explanation for the windows. As I made my way down the creaky stairs, I could feel my girlfriend's eyes boring into my back. She didn't want me going down there. The basement was dark and dank and filled with cobwebs. It smelled like mildew and decay, and all of these great things were contained within the first 5 feet. I had to crawl on my hands and knees to get any further. As I pushed aside a few cobwebs, I could see a faint light coming from underneath the door at the end of the basement. I struggled to my feet and walked over to investigate. I could make out numbers written in what looked like lipstick on the door. 104, our apartment number. Next to it was a keyhole. I found my key in my pocket and inserted it into the lock. It turned. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. What I saw made my blood run cold. In the center of the room was a wooden box nailed to the floor. It was wrapped in chains and padlocks, and on top of the box was a single word, open. And underneath that, scrawled in lipstick, never. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, but I knew I had to do it. I had to open that box. What was inside of it was clearly important. But just as I reached out to touch it, a voice echoed through the room. Stop. Whatever you do, don't open that box. I froze. I slowly turned around to face the voice, my skin prickling with goo. Who's there? I asked, my voice shaking. Who's in this room with me? No reply. I could feel the air grow cold around me. And then I heard a whisper, leave. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. All I could do was watch as the chains on the box seemed to writhe like a snake. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the basement floor. My head throbbed, and my whole body felt bruised. I tried to sit up, but my legs gave out, and I collapsed back onto the floor. I needed to get out of that basement, but I was too weak. My vision blurred, and the room started to spin. I don't remember much after that, just darkness. When I regained consciousness, I was in my bed. My girlfriend was kneeling beside me, her face at. You passed out down there, she said, her voice trembling. I found you on the floor and I brought you back here. She helped me sit up, her eyes filled with concern. Are you okay? I could tell she was worried, but I didn't have the strength to reassure her. I was still weak, but I could move, so I got out of bed and stumbled into the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, I saw a horrifying sight. My face was covered in scratches and bruises. One of my eyes was swollen shut and my lips were split and bleeding. It was like I'd been in a fight, and I knew that I hadn't. Looking back at the basement door, it was clear that whatever had happened to me down there had changed me somehow, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to find out what that was or not. I called in sick to work and spent the day recovering. I didn't tell my girlfriend what I had seen in the basement, but she must have guessed, because she spent the entire day tending to me. She made me soup and stayed by my side whenever I fell asleep. Even though I was scared, I was grateful for her help. As the days passed, my wounds healed, and I started to feel like myself again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I would walk into a room and get the feeling that someone had been standing in the corner watching me. When I would come home at night, I'd find things moved around in my apartment. My girlfriend and I would talk, and suddenly something would crash in the other room. And when I would turn to look, whatever it was would be gone. And then there were the whispers. They followed me everywhere. I couldn't escape them, and sometimes when I would close my eyes, I could hear voices speaking in a language that I didn't understand. It sounded ancient, like it was from another time. At first, it was just the usual whispers, but as the weeks went by, they became more insistent. They started to form words that chilled me to the bone. Get out, they would hiss. Leave this place. You're not safe here. I tried to ignore them, but they wouldn't stop. Day and night, they followed me, their whispers growing louder and more insistent. My girlfriend and I couldn't take it anymore. We packed up our things, and we left the city. As soon as we crossed the threshold of our new apartment, the whispers stopped. Finally, silence. I breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe now we could finally start over. But then I heard it again, a whisper in the darkness. You can't hide. We're everywhere. I froze. Was it following us? I turned around to look, but there was nothing there. Whatever was haunting me in that apartment building had followed me home. And whatever it wasn't giving up. Now, I'm not sure where it is now. Maybe it's still in that apartment building, waiting for its next victim. Or maybe it's here, with me, following me everywhere I go. I don't know. All I do know is that I can never escape those whispers. They're always there, just beyond my hearing, waiting for me to relax my guard. And when I do, they strike. So if you ever hear disembodied voices whispering your name, don't investigate. If you hear footsteps behind you when you turn around, don't turn around. And if you see windows boarded up in the Google Street View, stay far, far away.